If the only thing that a nurse coaching side hustle gave you was more time to spend serving and supporting people in a way that you truly enjoy, wouldn't that alone be worth it to you? And it energizes you to be able to show up in other parts of your life in ways that I can hardly explain. Nurses, nurse coaches, welcome back to the Nurse Coach Collective podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Peter.
And I'm Heather. Today we're talking about the 5 reasons why nurse coaching is the perfect side hustle for nurses.
I might even call it the ultimate side hustle for nurses.
Okay.
Yeah, Heather, and you and I are so passionate about this because this beautiful thing that we built, the Nurse Coach Collective, where we've had the opportunity to serve and support 3,500 nurses to become nurse coaches, this wonderful, wonderful entity that has evolved over time. It all started as this tiny little side hustle, like it's an idea that's grown and grown. We put more and more effort into it. And what I've seen as a pattern is that so many other nurse coaches are following suit. Right? They build this little side hustle, starts as a side hustle, and then it can either stay there or it can blossom into something different. So I'm very, very passionate about it. And I think nurse coaching is just a singularity inside the field of nursing in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is an opportunity for us to earn more income, have more freedom while doing something that is different and doing something that is creative. And I cannot think of a single other specialty inside of nursing where in essentially just 6 months, you can go from knowing absolutely nothing about nurse coaching, absolutely nothing about business or starting your own practice, to having a side hustle set up and running where you have paying clients coming in the door and you are already starting to see success.
And talk about a proven process. What's really interesting is seeing this evolution, how long it took you and I to get our side hustle started versus now seeing nurses who, as you said, know nothing about the field of nurse coaching, nothing about entrepreneurship. And then in the span of maybe even 5 months during their training, they're already having paying clients. So I think it's so exciting. And what do you want in a side hustle? You want it to be easy to start up. You want it to be simple, low cost, low pressure, something that maximizes your income and impact and allows you to do more of what you love.
Yes, I would like all of those things, please. That is exactly what I was looking for 7 years ago when we dove in.
All right. Well, let's start by getting into them one piece at a time. First is that nurse coaching is the ultimate side hustle because it is simple to get up and running. 7 months to become a nurse coach. And within that time frame, you can already have your business up and rocking if you follow that proven process. You talk to people, you invite them into conversations, you start to make offers. And the one thing that really holds most people back from starting their own side hustle, their own business, is that they think it's too complicated or they overcomplicate it because they don't have a framework or a process for taking them through step by step into these pieces. And, that's something that held us back initially, right? That piece of just overcomplicating everything because we're trying to figure it out.
Overcomplicate.
But when you boil it down, it is really simple. Right? You have to have a world-class service to offer, which is something that you can learn over the span of a few months, becoming a nurse coach, a proven process to follow, take action over and over again, take the right action and surround yourself with that community and that mentorship. And boom, in a short period of time, through that simple way of setting things up, you can have yourself a solid side hustle that is not only providing you freedom and fulfillment, but also income and impact.
And it's important not to sugarcoat things here, right? So when I hear you sharing this simplicity, I'm not hearing you say that you're going to go from point A to point B overnight. But I am hearing you say that in just 5, 6, 7 months, you're able to get started to that point where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 paying clients coming in the door. And this is the beautiful thing about side hustle, is that we're not talking about completely replacing your full-time job, completely stepping into a full-time practice. We're talking about starting slowly with a little something on the side and then growing that from there. So if the number one reason why nurse coaching is the perfect side hustle for nurses is because of the simplicity, then I would say that the second reason is because it is generally low cost. So there is a very low financial commitment to getting started. The startup costs are insanely low.
especially at this point in the evolution of online-based businesses.
Sure. So, what you're saying is 7 years ago, when we began our venture, this may not have been 100% true, but now we have seen how the costs have just come down and down and down to make this type of practice far more accessible. You and I were having a good laugh looking at a post that was made inside of our community last week. Shameless plug for our community. If you're not in the Nurse Coach Collective Facebook group, it is an awesome, awesome free space to come connect with your fellow nurses and nurse coaches. So come join us there. But we were laughing about a post from one of the nurse coaches in our group who was experiencing a little bit of stress from some of the costs that she was facing starting her practice as a nurse coach. And we got curious and we started asking questions. And we learned that these costs that she was talking about were some recurring monthly software fees, maybe the cost of getting her website up and running. And it totaled to about $50 a month. Now, Peter, when I tell you that it costs $50 a month for that person to sustain their growing private practice, what comes up for you?
Yeah, so $50, it can fluctuate, but what comes up for me are a couple of things. Number one, how many of you listening have multiple streaming service subscriptions that you're paying for right now? Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Disney, what other nonsense is out there, right? And I'm not saying to avoid entertainment, but what I am saying is to take a little bit of perspective. So as technology evolves and progresses, what happens are two big things. Number one is the demonetization of that technology. And second is the democratization of that technology. So demonetization, 7 years ago, for us to piece together all of these different pieces of technology in order to create a side hustle as a nurse coach, it took a lot of resources because the technology, it was new, it was expensive, the software was expensive. If you wanted HIPAA compliant anything, forget about it, man. Talk about 5 or 10xing the price. Now, after 7 years and the technology has become more and more accessible, it's become demonetized, which is what may have cost $500 a month when we started out is now $50 a month. Madness, right? That's why this is so low cost and why nurse coaching truly is one of the ultimate side hustles. So that's demonetization. Also, the democratization, meaning that it has become easier. I think one of the biggest barriers for us at the beginning is that it was not simple. And now it is so much easier to access just a few pieces of technology, the proven processes. I mean, you and I have put together not only a world-class nurse coaching program, but also a real business accelerator for nurses that takes them through that proven process of setting up a business, which means that you can do it quickly and you can do it for low cost, which that's what you want inside of a side hustle. You don't want to be building something in the background, building something in your basement for years and years, and then coming out and being like, is this going to work? Is anybody going to want this thing?
And having sunk so much money into it already.
Yeah, like you and I, we've made that mistake. We've made big, big builds where it turns into nothing. The beauty of nurse coaching is that you build it on the front end, you go, you test it out inside the market, you quickly adapt it and adopt it to be what people want to purchase. And then boom, you got a great side hustle for yourself. So yeah, simple and low cost, man, two great reasons why nurse coaching is an ultimate side hustle.
I would say that reason number 3 why nurse coaching is the ultimate side hustle is because it is low pressure. I am someone who loves a low pressure entry into something new. I think that's one of the things that sets you and I apart, Peter, is when you get excited about something, you have no fear to dive in head first, put in your 2 weeks
I
notice,
turn
quit
it
your day
up.
job, and boom, there you go. I am somebody who likes to take things a little bit more slowly, a little bit more gradually. So I absolutely loved that when I was starting my side hustle as a nurse coach, I got to do it on my own time frame, something that I felt very comfortable with. So I was able to build up my practice while slowly dropping down my hours in the ICU. That means I went from working full-time to working part-time, eventually to per diem, until I was really feeling like I was in the stride of things. So it was always that balancing act, making sure I was putting in the exact amount of time and energy that was matching the benefits that I was reaping as a return. That way I was not going in with 100% risk. And instead it was, quite a safe way to enter into a new venture.
Had I been where I am at now, which is we have a baby, I have somebody that I have to provide for other than myself and, the low cost needs of what somebody in their very early 30s back in the day, things are a little bit different for me. And so I can much more appreciate the need to start with that balanced scales, right? So on one side, you have your full-time job where you have safety, security, you have a steady paycheck coming on in. And as you're building your side hustle, as you begin to get some paying clients, the scale starts to balance. And eventually you'll notice that, okay, I'm spending all this time over here on my day job, but my side hustle is like, man, it's starting to really give me some revenue. It's giving me some return on my investment, again, in a short period of time, which is beautiful in a simple and low cost way. So I really do now appreciate the fact that it is a low pressure entry point into the world of nurse entrepreneurship, where you can build it as you go. You can bootstrap it. You do not, I repeat, you do not have to get loans. You don't have to rack up your credit card in order to build this kind of business. You can bootstrap it, which means that you pay for it as you go, and then you reinvest that money back into the business to grow it inside of your side hustle. And simple, low cost, low pressure.
So the fourth reason why nurse coaching is the perfect side hustle for nurses is because it's a great way to bring in additional income while having a pretty epic impact. You're out there doing work that you love, that is great work, helping people and making the world a better place. So let's talk about income. When I think about most people who have a side hustle, they are doing something like selling a product or maybe being part of an MLM service. And they are getting excited about bringing in an extra $100, $200, $300 a month. And don't get me wrong, a couple hundred extra bucks a month is awesome. But in the field of nurse coaching, what we're seeing really doesn't compare to that, because instead of just $100 or $200, we're seeing that with just one client, you're able to increase your income sometimes by $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a month. And again, that can be just
That's
one
substantial.
client, one coaching package, one commitment of working with somebody for a couple of months. It really adds up quickly. And talk about low pressure. That means you really only need to be having 1 to 2 to 3 clients at a time before you're really making quite a significant dent from your side hustle alone. And you get to do all of that while helping people to improve their health, to improve their happiness and their well-being, which is really what we're all here for as nurses, right? Helping to make people happier and healthier.
And that's the ultimate reason, Heather, why nurse coaching is the ultimate side hustle, is because you get to do more of what you love. If the only thing that a nurse coaching side hustle gave you was more time to spend serving and supporting people in a way that you truly enjoy, like, wouldn't that alone be worth it to you? When I think back to my early days and getting things started, I would do this work for free, man. I loved it. I gave away so many free coaching sessions because I could not get enough. The juxtaposition of night shift in the CVICU versus time as a nurse coach, like, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And I wanted to do it all the time. And so as a side hustle, it just fulfills you. It fills your cup in a different way, and it energizes you to be able to show up in other parts of your life in ways that I can hardly explain.
So if you are a nurse and you are looking for something different and something creative and a way to lean into your passions and earn a little bit more income in a way that's going to be relatively simple, relatively quick, low cost, it's going to be low pressure, and give you all of this opportunity that can grow and evolve over time. Maybe it amounts to becoming a massive side hustle. Maybe it becomes your full-time role, or maybe it sits there at those 1 to 2 clients, exactly where you want it to be. The beauty is it's up to you. It's about the time, the effort, the energy, the hustle that you put in, and of course, what it is ultimately that you are wanting to get out of this process.
Heather, thanks so much for having this conversation with me, friends, nurses, nurse coaches. I hope this has been helpful for you. Again, this is something that we're passionate about because this is how it all started for us. And, in stepping back and looking at it, there is so much opportunity for you, friends, to be able to pull this thing off and to be able to begin to do more of what you love. So, y'all, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Go get after those side hustles.
You.